Welcome to the fantasy show with everything sports with Aman. This is going to be a new series just dedicated to fantasy sports, and the normal episodes will still be every Sunday. I'm just posting this every Saturday, and there's not going to be any fantasy minute in the normal episode. So if you want your fantasy news, then every Saturday I'm going to post an episode, and it's co-hosted by Evan Garber.
What's up, guys?
And so I guess we can just get right into it because fantasy baseball finals are here, and to be honest, I haven't played fantasy baseball too much, but I still know like most like in all formats. For example, I'll give you the 5 players that uh, you have to start, and one of them is Brandon Woodruff, and these are all pitchers. These are all pitchers. So who you must start is like Brandon Woodruff, the starting pitcher from Milwaukee. Robbie Ray. These are all starting pitchers. So Robbie Ray for Toronto. Jose Barrio, starting pitcher for Toronto. Kevin Gosman too, and then Tyler Mahle. And Gosman had that pretty much that led to the walk off run yesterday. That was amazing from a pitcher, by the way.
Yeah, that was honestly amazing. I honestly really didn't expect that. I really thought that Gabe Kapler was going to tell Brandon Belt to bunt at the beginning of the inning, since he didn't do it in the 10th. But I guess we got the win, so it doesn't matter at this point.
Exactly. Now the
But
Giants. Yeah, continue.
actually, instead of Gosman, actually for that list, I would actually go with Logan Webb right now. In the past, like 10 or so games, he's given up like 2 runs or less in every single game. And then you see Gosman right now, he's struggling a little bit. So actually, Logan Webb is the better pick over Gosman at this point.
It's true. So, I mean, fantasy baseball, and he's still considered a sleeper. And when I say this name, you will recognize it from the many fantasy minute segments I have had for baseball. And the sleeper is Brandon Belt.
Yeah,
He
dude, Brent, he's
good
been on
sleep.
fire lately. Jeez.
He is 52% rostered, but there were many
Wow.
questions of who the Giants would re-sign with so many players on the rosters getting the 20 home run. And I think since like the start of August or something, Brandon Belt has just exploded.
Yeah, literally ever since he called himself the captain, he's literally showed that he's definitely the captain of the team. It's been amazing to watch.
And let's just stick with the Giants theme. We'll go with Evan Longoria. He's 41% rostered, so slightly less rostered most than most players, but I think he showed some signs.
Yes, since he's come back off the IL, he's been amazing. Uh, he has, I want to say, like 3 or 4 home runs, I believe. Might have a little more, but he's just been producing, getting a lot of clutch hits for the Giants. And yeah, it's great. It's really great to have him back.
And so, like MLB standings too, it's getting down to the what seems like in the American League, the top teams in each division have like a sizable lead over the second place. But then when you go into the NL, the Braves, Phillies, Mets, they're close to each other. And then NL Central, Brewers. Brewers have a pretty sizable lead over the Cardinals and Reds, but then you come to the Giants and Dodgers, who I believe, yes, I am right. They are the only teams in the MLB right now that have clinched a wild card spot. That is saying something because when we did our MLB, or when Evan came on for one episode and did the MLB predictions, and we will be reacting to those, by the way, at a later time. When Evan came on, he tried to be as unbiased as possible because, in case you didn't know, he is a diehard Giants fan, and I'm a Giants fan myself too. So the Dodgers are 2 games behind the Giants, and it's gonna be very close when it comes down to like the last 10 games.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this last stretch. Well, I still can't believe the Giants are really this good. No one expected it, not even me.
I feel like it
It's
was the
hard.
year the Nationals went to the, or not even went, won the World Series. No, they, that was the year like when Bryce Harper left.
Yeah, they had like a 0.1% chance or whatever it was.
Yeah, and they won it all, which was crazy to me. And Bryce Harper still hasn't won his World Series.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he. I mean, he has a chance this year, but I mean, he's putting up amazing numbers. He's MVP right now, arguably,
Yeah,
but it's gonna be tough in this tight NL wildcard race.
yeah, like in the AL East, the Yankees have, I'd probably say, been disappointing this season.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened to them this season, to be honest. Uh, I mean, they've been like a lot better recently, like since the All-Star break, the trade deadline. But it's really hard to. I think it's like impossible to explain what's going on because
Yeah,
you
like
literally have this stacked team.
they have like Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. They even have Anthony Rizzo now, Joey Gallo. The list goes on, and obviously I'm forgetting some good players, but the list goes on, man. The Yankees are incredibly stacked, and the Dodgers are incredibly stacked. You'd expect these two teams to just wreck their respective leagues and then meet each other in the World Series, but that's not the case because the Yankees are they're struggling a lot, and we'll see what happens. So, if you know any players that I didn't name for on one of the top teams that actually have been performing well, then you should definitely try picking them up to make that last push if you are. And like, at least I know the fantasy baseball finals are around the corner. So if you want to just pick up players from the waiver wire that may have some good games, some bad games, just believe in their upside and then pick them up. And yes, October 5th is the world. It's the first wild card game. So yeah, the fantasy finals are just around the corner. So make sure you get the players that you can because once I release this episode, once many other videos are out, those players are going to be gone from the waiver wire. So now we're going to transition to fantasy football, where I know this is much larger at this point, and you don't have to listen to my advice. And honestly, I don't believe you should because there were many people saying uh, to literally bench Terry McLaurin because of James Bradbury. But then I kept him in my lineup and he got 27.7 points in a PPR league. So that's just crazy. And yeah, so like, Evan, who do you think is like a lock to start?
Ooh, that's tough. Uh, I think a lot of people are actually sleeping on Aaron Rodgers this week. Uh, I saw on Fantasy Pros in their weekly grades, They had him as like a C, as like as like an average start. But coming off of a absolutely terrible week, I think he's bound to pop off, especially against Lions defense that's now missing Jeff Okuda.
Yeah, like that. I feel like that was literally the worst of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, there's no way he's gonna do worse than that. I don't see it coming at all.
Yeah, if your team is has like average quarterbacks, because you can't really tell, because like my brother had Matt Ryan, he didn't do well, and Matt Ryan was, I thought he was an all right pick. I didn't know he'd do that bad, but Jalen Hurts, he absolutely destroyed the Atlanta Falcons. So I would definitely, if not start him, at least pick him up if he's available in your leagues. Matthew Stafford just literally torched the Chicago Bears. Joe Burrow, he, I was shocked when the Bengals beat the Vikings, and even though Ryan Tannehill, they just struggled against the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think the offensive line is going to be that horrible. And that's because Chandler Jones had like, how many sacks did he have? Like 6 sacks,
Yeah, he
five or
has six.
six
Yeah,
sacks, something like that. It's just insane. But I don't think the Titans are going to do that well. And I don't think Derrick Henry is going to do that poorly. And now you go to Jameis Winston. He obviously, there's he had 148 passing yards, not many passing yards, but five touchdowns, five touchdowns. And against the Panthers, Panthers, excuse me, last week beat like the Jets, who allowed 6 sacks. But I mean, Winston against the Panthers defense is young. So I think the Saints offensive line will still do well. So definitely start Jameis Winston. And then Evan, who do you think are more sleepers other than Aaron Rodgers?
oof. Let's see. Uh, Gee, that's tough. I personally think that Elijah Mitchell is a sleeper for some. Uh, he had an amazing week last week against the Lions after Debo Samuel, or not Debo Samuel, after uh after Raheem Mostert got injured. Uh, and I think you have to uh rely on the Niners to run the ball a lot again this week against the Eagles. Because that Eagles, uh, I mean the Eagles defense is pretty solid. Like the cornerbacks and their safeties are actually really solid. But then you also got Jalen Hurts on the other end, who's who had an amazing week last week. So you want to try to keep the ball away from him as long as possible. So you got to rely on the Niners to run the ball a lot this week.
It is true. And then, oh, just for like, ooh, for sleepers, you also got Tyrod Taylor just absolutely destroying the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if the Jaguars are going to put up that same performance, because Trevor Lawrence is a rookie quarterback. What I think teams should do, and I don't know if you, Evan, you can speak to this if you want. What I think teams should do is they should keep their veteran quarterbacks and mentor the rookie quarterback for a year. We saw with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, and now look at Patrick Mahomes. I don't like it when teams are shoving rookies into like a completely new system and they struggle their first game, and then it's like everything's going down.
Yeah, I mean you saw it with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. I mean, now look at Aaron Rodgers. He's like one of the best quarterbacks of all time now. I mean, you gotta have the veteran quarterback teach the young guy the whole system because it's definitely a huge change from college football to the NFL. So it's gonna take a lot of time for most rookie quarterbacks to get used to it. So that's why it's always great to have a mentor there, like Brett Favre, or like Aaron Rodgers now, who is gonna mentor Jordan Love.
Yeah, and even Garoppolo with Trey Lance. Oh,
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an interesting one because a lot of people don't like Jimmy G. They say he's so trash and whatever. But I
yeah,
think Jimmy G. He's learned a lot, like especially backing up Tom Brady. So I feel like he can easily mentor Trey Lance pretty well.
and so Trevor Lawrence, I feel like out of all the rookie quarterbacks, struggled the most, and his even though he threw 3 touchdowns for 332 passing yards, the 3 interception part is, I feel like, unacceptable. Like his throws were honestly completely off. I didn't even know who he was throwing to. So you, I don't know if many of you started him, but that I feel like Trevor Lawrence is a good QB2 at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too, and especially this week against the Broncos defense, I would definitely not start him unless he's your QB1 for whatever reason in a really deep league. I would
I,
try to stay away from him as long as possible.
and Ronald Darby is out for the Broncos this weekend, and Bradley Chubb could return for the Broncos. So Bradley Chubb or no Bradley Chubb, it's still going to be a challenging Broncos defense. And if Trevor Lawrence and the receivers just need to like sort of get on the same page to prevent what happened against the Jaguars. 'Cause I feel like it's a fair argument to say the Broncos are better than the Jaguars.
Yeah, I definitely believe so too. I think a lot of people are really sleeping on the Broncos for whatever reason. I mean, sure they don't have a quarterback. They have Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback, who's not the greatest of all time, but they have good weapons and they have a really solid defense. So I think they can definitely make a push for the playoffs at least.
That's true. And then last sleeper for the quarterbacks, or not sleeper, to sit them. I already mentioned him. Matt Ryan. He has been in the league for a long time, but without Julio, Matt Ryan didn't even throw for a touchdown. Not even a touchdown. So like I don't know what else to say. He had 164 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, to a whopping pretty much 7 fantasy points. I'm sure many I'm sure he costed many of you your fantasy game for that week. So I think
Yeah,
he's just gonna knock himself into a quarterback 2 spot instead of a starter.
just like last year, he was struggling so much. I actually I ended up getting rid of him because he was so bad. I I don't know what's happening to Matt Ryan. He has so many weapons around him. He has Kyle Pitts. He has
Calvin
Calvin
Ridley.
Ridley.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's is that. I don't know. He just throwing the ball terribly recently. I don't know what happened. He was so good, like 3 4 years ago. I mean, he led the Falcons to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
ever since then, fell off.
And then let's go with let's go to the running backs for a little bit because there I we already know like Christian McCaffrey and like Dalvin Cook are pretty much the I feel like the best, and Alvin Kamara, put them in there, the top 3 running backs, because they on days they struggle, they're still gonna get you 15, 20 fantasy points, and those are days that they struggle, which is crazy. But for running backs, let's you must start. Let's see, Melvin Gordon against the Jaguars. What do you think about that?
That's definitely an interesting one. I mean, again, like I said earlier, you don't have the greatest quarterback of all time, so you're definitely gonna run the ball a lot. because you can't really trust Teddy Bridgewater. But I don't know. I don't feel like Melvin Gordon is like the breakout guy. Like, I don't. He doesn't seem like a good fantasy running back, in my opinion at least.
That is true because of the running backs the Broncos have, like Javonte Williams. He did. I don't think he did well last week, but Melvin Gordon, 101 rushing yards, 3 receptions for 17 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. I He's someone who like I might start, may not start, and that goes for the same for Kareem Hunt, because obviously Nick Chubb is on that team. So fantasy sleepers, like Evan said, Elijah Mitchell, right?
Yep. Ho- Hopefully he'll break a game this week. I think he will for sure.
And then this people, not to start. This is intriguing because so many people are blaming Giant struggles on Saquon Barkley. And
I don't think that's the right thing because they haven't even used him that much. I mean, I'm pretty sure he only had like 40 yards the other day, which is like nothing compared to what he used to get. He used to be like 100 per game guy. I just don't
yeah,
think they're using him very well.
he got 57 yards. And
That's crazy.
57 yards, and let's see, at least in on ESPN's fantasy, 8.9 points. He had that 142-yard run, but so many people are saying like, oh, Saquon's not Saquon anymore and things like that. He is 24, guys. He is 24 years old. So
Yeah, he's coming off on a major injury too.
yeah, exactly. And Josh Jacobs is someone who everyone just doesn't like at fantasy. That's because of their acquisition of Kenyon Drake, and Jacobs only did decent because he got 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, but 34 rush yards, 1 reception, 6 receiving yards. So, well, that being said, I this is intriguing because I ended up starting Josh Jacobs against the Baltimore Ravens, and now he is out. So like his injury prone, his fantasy production is not gonna uh, look too well if he's just in and out of the lineup and only does decent.
Yeah, he's mostly like a touchdown guy at this point. So I mean, you get like 6, maybe 12 fantasy points a game from him, but you won't get that yardage from a guy like CMC or Derrick Henry, who run for yardage and score touchdowns.
Yeah, and can catch like in McCaffrey's case. For receivers now, let's go to receive Juju Smith Schuster. Juju Smith Schuster, Deontay Washington, and Chase Claypool are, I'd say, the Steelers' main receivers. And I'm not gonna lie, the first half of the last week for the Steelers, Chase Claypool was looking like a fantasy bust.
Yeah, I I personally thought from the beginning of the season that he was going to be a bust this season. I mean, I'm not saying that he's bad or anything, but I feel like now that they have a solid running back in Najee Harris, I feel like they're going to use him a lot more. And then you got Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the number one target for sure. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I feel like Big Ben is definitely getting up there. He's starting to decline a little bit, so I feel like you can't trust him as much to get the passes get passes that you need all the time.
Yeah. And uh, but then Chase Claypool sort of, I'd say, reeled it in because it was projected like 12, 13 fantasy points, and then he produced 12 point. He actually, or no, he got 10 fantasy points, and Kyle Pitts 4 points below, and then Terry McLaurin, that didn't matter because he literally exploded this past week, during week 2. So I mean, Devonte Smith is, I feel like he's a good flex player. If you add him at flex, he's a good flex player.
Yeah, all the rookie wide receivers this year seem to be really good at flex. They all popped off last week. So definitely, if they're still available, uh, in your league somehow, you should definitely pick those guys up.
Or honestly, if you have players that you don't want, like Chase Claypool, for example, I feel like that's good trade value for someone who believes in them. If they have a rookie wide receiver, potentially package Chase Claypool or one of the fantasy bust or sleepers that Evan and I talked about this week. So try to get these rookie receivers because Jamar Chase was amazing. Devonte Smith was amazing. So Devonte Smith is week 2 matchup against the Niners defense, who Barrett is out for the season. I know Dre, is it Dre Greenlaw?
Greenlaw,
Or is, yeah,
yeah,
Greenlaw is out too. Then so Bengals, so Jamar Chase is up against Chicago, and then yeah, so Jamar Chase against Chicago, and you got Devontae Smith against the Niners. And your fantasy sleepers, I'm going to name two right off the bat. What do you think about Jacoby Myers of the Patriots, who got 6 receptions, 44 receiving yards, and Marquez Callaway, who's like Jameis Winston's go-to target in the preseason?
yeah. It's definitely interesting. Like, you see these guys that like you don't even know really. You see these guys pop off. It's hard to pick if you really think if you hard to pick if you're really going to be good the rest of the season. I feel like Marcus Callaway. I feel like he definitely could be a guy that you should pick up because now you have Michael Thomas out for a little while, and now James Winston's go-to guy. I feel like he's definitely going to rack up a lot of yardage and touchdowns this season. Uh, who's the other guy again?
Jacoby Myers of the New
Jacoby
England
Myers.
Patriots.
Jacoby Myers is definitely an interesting one because you have a good amount of other weapons in New England. You got Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith, obviously, who kind of underperformed this week. They both didn't. I don't think either of them scored a touchdown this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Then you got Mac Jones as quarterback. It's hard to rely on him to go out every single week and be on fire. It's only his second game now this coming week, so I don't expect him to be lights out.
And then, like, we're sitting, one name that pops out to me the most on this list is Julio Jones. He got 3 receptions for 29 yards. He's, I don't, I'm not gonna say that he's declining. I definitely don't think it's declining. It's his first game in a new system. Like, this is his first new team other than the Falcons. So I don't. Uh, I'm not sure what to do with Julio. What would you do?
I think I would continue to start him to be honest, because you have two really good wide receivers on that team, so you can't really guard both of them at the same time. So likely they'll double one of them, either AJ Brown or Julio Jones, and then another guy will likely get open every single time. But then once the other guy starts popping off, you're gonna double that guy. So then the other guy will actually start popping off then. So I feel like you definitely got to keep starting him.
Exactly. And then you got someone who could bust is Debo Samuel. He exploded against the Lions, but Brandon Ayuk, the other wide receiver, was uh, well, got zero fantasy points. So we'll see what happened with the Niners. That's intriguing because you got Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Samuel could bust and Ayuk could boom, but I wouldn't. Uh, I'm not sure what to do with Ayuk, but Debo Samuel, I'd say to keep him in your lineup to start. And so you got Samuel versus Devontae Smith. That's a good receiving matchup. And then very quickly, we're gonna go through the tight ends. Tyler Higbee and with Matthew Stafford, I feel like Higbee might actually do better. He had 11.8 fantasy points. And Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles against that Niners defense, but 4 receiving yards, 42 or no, sorry, 4 receptions, 42 receiving yards, 1 touchdown for a grand total of 14.2 fantasy points. That's good for a tight end. And with Zach Ertz, I don't know the point of Zach Ertz in Philadelphia, but he's still there. So I wouldn't start Ertz at all. Just use Dallas Goedert, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually want to get your opinion on this. So, as you probably know, I traded for Evan Ingram the other day. Do you think he can uh be that be the tight end that he was like the past or like 2 3 years ago? Do you really think he's gonna pop up this year?
That's oh, I do like you trading Hunter Henry for Evan Ingram. He's 27 years old. He's been injured this season. I'm not too sure when he's gonna come back. I'm not sure if you know. Do you know?
Uh, nah, doesn't not sure yet, but he's been participating a little bit in practice, so probably next couple weeks or so.
I I I need to assess the first game of that Evan Ingram plays to uh, make a prediction on him because he's been injured. I do like the trade. Do like who you gave up for him. I'm just not sure what will happen. And Mike Gesicki is once again on Buster. He got zero fantasy points. He wasn't even involved in the game plan. I don't know what happened to Mike Gesicki to not even get one fantasy point.
I don't even know either. I guess I mean you got two really good weapons for Tua. Uh you got Devontae Parker, and then you got Jalen Waddle, who I think they both had a pretty good weeks last week.
Yeah,
So I guess it's just like a toss up really
yeah,
between which of the three are gonna get the most points that week.
exactly. So Mike Gesicki, don't I wouldn't start him. And if you have him at flex, definitely try to bench him for one of your players. Or if you don't have a decent flex, just get it from the waiver wire before Sunday's game start. With that, that's the first episode of our fantasy show. I think it went well, and Evan's gonna be here co-hosting with me every single Saturday for the foreseeable future because we are going to talk about fantasy basketball when it comes up, even fantasy hockey, just everything fantasy. This is your episode for it. Evan, thanks for co hosting with me. We will see
Yeah,
you
no
guys
problem.
next Saturday for episode 2.